world news today. Computer hacker group Anon says it's stepping away from computers and stepping into psychotherapy as the world progresses into a new tomorrow. Having the world wonder, was Scarecrow right? Policymakers of equality have been brought to light on Limp Bizkit's Behind Blue Eyes and the new thought process of we are the gods of tomorrow. Latin American Mayans to the Russian Catholics themselves saying our prophets are right. The generation of neurology has constructed a way to communicate with computers, Stephen Hawking being the first subject, saying, can we move consciousness into tomorrow? Will the world's economy be guarded by a soul in the computer? And were the late movies of the 90s actually right? Religions around the world protest today as steps towards altering the state of consciousness into computers continues to move forward. European nationalist and royal Armand van Buren says, I have created the pygmy elephant in an effort to give my wife a house of antiques. The similarities from the 1940s up until 2026 Latin America has everybody saying the same thing. What drove you to do this? And they all said, power. Import prices skyrocket from coffee to $45 a bag as southern countries say it's our property. Russian nationalists opened the policy to should we legalize marijuana. The 1970s Republican group Viva la Cocaína revolutionaries say, are we the future of tomorrow? The epidemic of drugs in the Northwest has people wondering, is there ever going to be a stop to this? 5 blocks of people around the local specs say that the new policies regarding blocking alcohol, and I just want my champagne, was Coco Chanel right? The government is in shock today as new policies are being in place to remove microphones from all cell phones and the irresponsibility of the public to control their behavior. Local news media say that the epidemic still continues as progressions of failure continue to happen online, asking the question of, should we be more responsible with our internet? A new protest is underway across the world today with pictures of people cutting out their tongues, saying, I have my right. The construct of tomorrow and people protesting has the world wondering, is there a way to calm the nation? Protests today are underway across the world as civilians say, it's not fair that prophets exist. Local NASA scientist says it has a new way to generate intelligence, and it starts with a magician's trick. Policymakers of the world today say that the Third Reich is on the rise again, having the world wonder what is going to happen. 2026 and the world is still asking, where is Joseph Kony? The uprise of dictators across Latin America and the Midwest have people wondering who will be the new one in control. And what was the word they said? And everybody agrees it was power. Looking at history today, the most famous statement in the world was, I am the creator of death itself. Neurobiologists from Massachusetts say they have found a way to increase intelligence with radiation, saying, does the Hulk exist? Local economic and activist says he has a way to bring water to Africa. Local scientist from Florida says there's a way to communicate with smart meters. The 1990s brought about the world of 3D images hidden in white noise, having the world wonder, what were they doing? One man's tweet says, moving barbiturates into Mexico may calm the nation of cocaine itself, having people wonder, does the Blue Beetle actually exist? The policies on the late 1990s show X-Files has people wondering, what's in the water? And should we be drinking? Local health activists say continuously over the last 5 years that controlled alkaline water on store shelves is making people sicker. A local plant in Africa called khat is a safer alternative to that of the 1940s weaponized form of crystal meth and cigarettes, saying, can we put this in corporations and should we bring back smoking sections? The first humanoid police robot in the UK is on trial today for arresting an 11-year-old for having a sucker mistaking it for a cigarette. Policymakers of the world today are thinking about canceling out media outlets continuously, social media to cinematography itself, saying the world is not responsible enough for television anymore. Late historical figure of the 1930s says televisions were the way to communicate with space. Local scientist in Massachusetts says cathode ray tubes may be the future of watching neutrinos. The late 1920s inventor and star of the nation says it's all in the light bulb. And the world is still wondering, where is Carmen Sandiego? Policymakers are in agreement today and in awe that in 2035, all cellular networks will be closed and the upbringing of the telephone line will come back into the future of tomorrow. The religious group Scientologists has teamed up with Antifa and Anon, continuing the efforts to stop local media in the cell phone and the world of shunning, increasing the aggression of America and the world today, saying, was the late 1919s epidemic of barbiturates the healer of tomorrow? The new methods of communication regarding that of inductance say, you violated my airspace. And policy change is in place regarding the rights of human individuals, which brings up the question, was Arizona Area 51 right all along? The new policy of 2030 and leftist Democrats says that it is now illegal for elderly people to sit under blankets as it creates conscious awareness and the potential risk of intuitive danger for America itself, saying that only the approved citizens have the right to think. The world is in awe today as religious monasteries across the world are guarded by the MPs themselves, saying you no longer have the right to contemplate. Having the world question which religion started the Nero War itself. Evolutionary biologists say, can we go back to the Cro-Magnon state as humans no longer have the ability or responsibility to think for themselves as world wars continue across the world today? And the key word again was power. Local scientist from Texas says he has successfully merged humans with cat DNA, giving them better foresight into tomorrow. The populace of the world today says, were hammerhead sharks actually right? The late box office hit The Purge has local psychologists across the world asking, should we act first and don't think? The continued intrusion of the government from one local mom says she endorses the sleepy time stickers. Waco, Texas is in the news today as the embodiment of cult activity across the world continues on the uprise, having the world wonder, what are we looking for? Local NASA scientist says he has the answers, and he says, look up. A new study is underway regarding the camera itself and how it alternates the psychology of a person being watched into a disability. Does this have a correlation to that of humans as well? Was the radar system of Metal Gear Solid actually right in teaching people how to operate in a world where you're being watched? Local media outlets across the world are saying we are banning all forms of new communication and interest, saying it is no longer safe for society. I'm Brodicks, and this is your World News Media Outlet 2026.